Hey everybody, and welcome to the Fandom Portals podcast, the podcast where we explore fandoms that help us learn and grow. This week we're looking at the musical turned movie Phantom of the Opera, starring Emmy Rossum and Gerard Butler. It was made in 2004, and this week on the podcast we are talking about how the Phantom of the Opera looks at different forms of love. We're looking at how Andrew Lloyd Webber created a musical that has a nuanced set of villains. And we are also taking in that breathtaking set design from Joel Schumacher's movie. This week, I'd also love to give a really special shout out to Aaron from the Thrash and Treasure podcast. Since recording this episode on the Phantom of the Opera, we had some discussions through our social medias, and he really is passionate, guys. He has a podcast about musicals, and he has some iconic industry guests on there. So if musicals are your thing, make sure you go and check out Aaron. He also has a pretty cool first name, same as mine. And definitely go and show him some love, guys. Thank you so much for the chats, Aaron. Appreciate them. And thank you for being a part of the Fandom Portals community. Strap in, guys. We hope you enjoy this podcast on the Phantom of the Opera. Hello, everybody. It's Aaron here from the Fandom Portals podcast. And as usual, I'm here with Brash.
Hey, everyone. How are you all doing?
Well, today we are here to talk about the movie The Phantom of the Opera. Everybody's been talking about the musical Wicked, and we had a bit of a discussion about musicals over here at the Fandom Portals podcast. And Brash, you chose this one for a particular reason. You want to get into why that was?
So of all the movie makes of musicals, Phantom of the Opera has been my favorite for many, many years, and so far, even I have seen bits and pieces of Wicked, and though it looks pretty good, I still, for me, it can't compete to Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen it, so I was very curious to check it out. But before we get into that, we're going to get into our usual gratitudes and growths. I might go first this week. And I have a gratitude and a growth. So my gratitude this week is for time with friends. So today I spent some time watching NFL with some of my friends. It's playoff time, so watching the football was really good. Chilling out, watching TV with them. And then now I get to podcast with Brash, one of my other friends. So it's been a good day of friendship happening today. So I'm very grateful to have such good friends and also, guy friends in my life. It's great that men have relationships with other men, platonically or otherwise, however it goes. But yeah, I'm just really thankful for yourself and for a lot of my friends for being around me. So thanks, Brash.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And then my growth, I was talking to you about this earlier, actually. Every time we come to podcast, Brash comes in, he's ready to go, and he sits down, he's got his notes all organized. He's, he sat there in his mic, and then I'm sitting here with my trade table. I'll get a photo of it one day on social media, but I got my trade table, my iPad, everything's all over here. And then all these cords are hanging off me, and I'm just like, I got to get this crap more organized. So that's my growth, is that when you come to podcast one time, or when I go to you to podcast one time, we're going to actually have it flowing. I'm going to be going good with it. So that's my goal. That's my work in progress. Also still working on the sleep thing. We'll see how that goes. Most people would have had it by now, but that's also still a growth. But now it's definitely organizing the podcast gear. What about yourself, Brash? Gratitude and growth.
Look at growth, and it's actually quite similar to your growth. As I've found out this week, I've been not sleeping early enough, and it's really started to affect me at work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to knock that shit off, and I'll gotta go to bed earlier, even just a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I can generally run off 4 or 5 hours sleep. That's rough. If I can just get that little extra hour, make it maybe 6 hours, possibly 7, that'd be
ideal. Yeah. You know what though? It's tricky because for me, obviously I have a lot of responsibilities, as do you, but when it's nighttime, it's kind of like you get that time. And you get to do some of the things that you like. You get that independent space, and you don't feel like, because when I play video games or watch a movie and I'm fully immersed in that kind of stuff, I'm detracting from relationships with others that are around me. Yeah. I don't really want to do that. So when they all go to bed, that's when I take that time, me time. Yeah. Self-deprecating though, because it's it's taking away from your.
Exactly.
So I understand. I really do.
And especially on the weekends for me. So I'm weekend, stay up late.
Oh, yeah.
But then it's I slept until 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. That's a whole wasted 5 hours that I could have been up pretty much doing what I was doing prior to getting sleep.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've actually heard as well that some people, I say some people, like they flip the script on that. So instead of staying up until X amount of time at nighttime, they'll wake up X amount of hours early. And that almost forces them to be disciplined in terms of when they cut it off, because obviously your life has to start. You either have to go to work or be with kids or do whatever, but like that sort of puts it in a time frame.
Yeah.
Which is what I kind of would like to do eventually. But yeah, it's just maybe we could keep each other accountable. I don't know.
Yeah,
like text each other, have you got to bed?
And then like make the like absolute cut off at 11 o'clock and be like, text each other at 11, be like, this is our bedtime.
Yeah.
And both of us have like give the thumbs up, like, yes, bedtime, 11 o'clock, no later than that, done. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll get to the point where we'll end up having a growth 3 weeks down the track saying, Brash, I've lied to you.
Yeah.
I've been sending you the thumbs up and I've actually been gaming on Marvel
afterwards.
Yeah, that's the tricky part. But yeah, happy to hear that your growth has been acknowledged. But yeah, I'm keen to help you with that because you can help me with mine too. So yeah.
Grateful. I'm grateful for Ace.
Fuck yeah. Love that dog. I've only known him for 4 weeks, but already, don't tell my dog outside, but he's probably my favorite dog. He's awesome.
Well, so I'm grateful because he's a husky and I love huskies. And when I first was like, I'm going to get a dog, Ace's litter was for sale. So I'm like, I'll go pick up a dog. And he jumped up first me. He's a very timid dog. Someone picked him up for me. We might think they might have been a little abusive to him.
A bit harsh
to him because he's really timid around other people, but he warmed up to me very quickly, which is really nice. But yeah, he's very scared of other people, which is a little bit of a shame, especially when like friends come over, like it's hard for them to like interact with him because he keeps running away.
He kind of, initially he's that little bit standoffish and he won't come to me and I'll hold my hand out and I'll wait for him, but he won't do it. But then when we're podcasting, he's quite happy to like come over and say hello and lick on my knees and stuff. Yeah, no. Yeah. So he's getting there. He
is getting better. And I'm taking him to like dog parks, so he's interacting with more dogs, seeing more people around. And he is getting better. But he's well, I was expecting, huskies, and they're usually very talkative and loud. Yeah. Ace is quiet as a mouse.
Maybe that's like the universe giving you what you needed at the time.
Yeah. But so I am grateful for Ace.
That's good.
And he keeps me company too.
Absolutely, man. He's the greatest third unofficial co-host. One day when he actually says something on the mic or barks on the mic, we'll graduate him to full official co-host. But
who knows? He might grow into talking.
Well, maybe. That'd be a Disney movie right there. The podcasting dog. All right. So that's how gratitudes and growths. We'll keep each other accountable with bedtimes. That's our goal. Yes. By the time this actually releases, we'll see how we've gone.
Yeah.
But now let's get into our first segment of the day. All right. So we are moving on to our first take segment. Now, this is where we discuss how we first encountered the media, what our initial impressions of the media were, and what our feelings were on the media after having watched it as well. During this time, we might also share some of our community's thoughts on the movie, and those people might have contributed to our podcast's thread page, Instagram, or Letterboxd. If you want to be a part of those shout-outs, you can definitely do that by following the links below in the show notes and following us on our social medias. We are at Fandom Portals everywhere. So might start with you, Brash. This was a favorite of yours. How'd you first discover this movie or this musical? And what were your initial impressions? What were your impressions now after a rewatch? How do you feel about it?
So I'm a secret lover of musicals. So back in sort of high school, we've all seen musicals, Chicago, Grease, all those kind of like musical movies and everything like that. But I only ever watched one stage performance. I think it was Les Mis when I was younger. And so they've always been like sort of a secret, like little pleasure of mine, but I've never really gone out of my way to watch any. When I was living in Victoria, I had some housemates, one of which, her name is Cecilia. She was very lovely, but she was she was very classy. So we're around the same age, but she was very classy. Only drank like wine, like red wine. Red wine. She was very cultured.
Cultured, yeah.
Only like drinking like red wine, and she loved musicals. So the first time I actually ever saw Phantom of the Opera was actually watching it with them one night. Here's me on the couch with the girls drinking beer, watching Family Opera. And absolutely loved it.
Stuck from there. That's awesome. That's how it happens sometimes with socializing and watching a movie with someone else, is that connected experience of cinema. Like for me, I love Lord of the Rings so much because I watched it with my dad in the movie theater, and that was the moment, Yeah. So connecting those moments back to movies like that. We actually watched it on the year it came out, because it came out in 2004. I'm pretty sure that is when I watched it. Yeah. So 20-year-old movie, The Phantom of the Opera, obviously adapted from the stage play by Andrew Lloyd Webber. For me, I'd always been around the peripheries of The Phantom of the Opera. So I knew it existed, never dove in. I knew the famous mask. I knew the famous like organ player. I knew it was kind of macabre in its design as well. But the time that I actually kind of really, really knew, oh, this is a stage production known as The Phantom of the Opera, was when I was watching Nickelodeon's Hey Arnold. And they did an actual...
I remember that episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
They did an episode and The Phantom of the Opera was actually in that episode with the mask and everything. And that was the first time I actually saw and knew about the character. And then it just slept for a really, really, really long time, never having watched it. So when you brought it up the other week, that this is a musical that we should watch for the podcast, I was like, yes, let's do it. Absolutely. And having watched it, I really enjoyed it. Not only for the story, but for the themes and things like that. I'm pretty hit and miss with musicals. There has to be a good underlining story and good character development and growth for me to follow it through to the end. Because sometimes, the songs don't always do it for me. There is always one or two that stick in your head, but sometimes the songs just don't really do it for me. So that was my kind of introduction to it as well. But as I said, having watched it, pretty impressed, Brash. Pretty impressed. So we're going to go to our social responses now. We're taking our responses this time from Letterboxd, and I sent some of these to Brash because they actually had me in stitches today. One person on Letterboxd, Emily_F9, said about the movie that living in a basement and demanding £20,000 a month for doing nothing is the kind of lifestyle that I aspire to have. So that was their comment on the movie. Somebody else on Letterboxd, one of our community members named Mister, said, I like it when it goes dun, 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 dun. And they've actually spelled out all of the U's in dun. So it happens when somebody gets zero lovin' for a very long time. Can see that. And other people said that, growing up is realizing that Christine was better off with Raoul than there was with the Phantom. And other people have said that they watch this at least once a year or they feel pretty sad. So that was Mummy Longlegs that said those ones as well. So let's give a brief plot outline for those of you that don't know. And also, big spoiler alert, this is a 20-year-old movie, but spoiler alert, if you don't know the things that happen in The Phantom of the Opera, we are probably going to be spoiling some things for you today. So keep that in mind. All right, so this is a classical musical. It comes to the big screen for the first time and is about a deformed since birth, a bitter man known only as the Phantom who lives in the sewers underneath the Paris Opera House. He does fall in love with the obscure chorus singer Christine and privately tutors her while terrorizing everybody else in the opera house. So with that being said, let's dive into our fandom fact face-off segment for the week. Okay, so the fandom fact face-off segment is where we ask one another a series of trivia questions associated with the movie, which is The Phantom of the Opera.
In sleep he sang to me, in dreams he came, that voice which calls to me and speaks my name. And do I dream again, for now I find the Phantom of the Opera is there inside my mind.
And the host with the most collected points from the Fandom Fact Face-Off segment after 4 weeks will shout their opposing co-host to an all-expenses-paid trip to the movies. This is the fourth week, Brash, and it's 5-all. So we each ask each other 3 questions. So from 9 potential points, we have 5, which means we're kind of just above 50%, which isn't too bad.
Yep.
You can start off with your question this week, Brash. Off you go.
Okay, so both Gerard Butler and Patrick Wilson both hated something on set or hated doing something on set. Do you know what that is?
Okay, so Gerard Butler, who plays the Phantom, and Patrick Wilson, who plays Raoul in this movie, both hated one thing. I'd probably have to say the prosthetics. Gerard Butler having a prosthetic across the face and Patrick Wilson having the old man prosthetics.
You would think, because they both took it was like 6 hours for Gerard Butler and
Patrick Wilson.
But no, they both hated doing the water scenes.
Oh yes, during the catacombs. Yeah,
they both just hated it because having to get in the water, they just hated it.
Well, that being said, I think it was shot in England as well.
It would have been cold.
Would have been cold. Patrick Wilson actually had a lot of underwater shots because he fell into that the chamber during the movie
Yep.
and obviously had that portcullis fall
Yep,
on him.
And then the Phantom had to string him up on the gate in the water, and they had to wade through the waist height water.
Yeah. And I read as well during the production design that they actually used dyes and various different sort of
To color the
water.
Yeah.
So it definitely wouldn't have been a nice experience. So yeah, there you go. The water was something that they hated. All right, my turn. Here we go. During the production of this movie, it was originally greenlit in 1989, and it took a very long time to come out in 2004. And during that time, they were obviously looking for the perfect actor to be the Phantom of the Opera. I might bring this up in a little bit of a newer segment a little bit later, but who was one of the actors who was considered before Gerard Butler was cast and couldn't do it because of scheduling conflicts with a movie that they did during that year?
Oh, there was heaps. Like Antonio Banderas was one.
Yeah, that was one.
Who else? Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, he was another one that was considered.
Who else?
Both of those two lost out to Gerard Butler, but this one in particular was sought for the role and couldn't commit due to scheduling conflicts. The movie that they committed to instead of this one was Van Helsing.
Oh, Hugh Jackman.
Yes, it's Hugh Jackman. So
Hugh Jackman.
yeah, he was considered and contacted by Joel Schumacher and Andrew Lloyd Webber, and he simply just said he couldn't do it and that it was a shame. Funnily enough, I also saw that Anne Hathaway was up for the role of Christine.
And she can do it because of Princess
Diaries too, yeah. And those two then later starred in Les Mis.
Yeah.
So we could have had an earlier collaboration between those two. All right, so that is 1-0 so far, which brings our total scores up to 6 and 5. Your turn for your second question, Brash.
Okay, so this one is pretty much to see how much you paid attention to the movie. So while watching it, because it's something from inside the movie.
Okay.
So after Christine takes on the role of that Coletta was meant to do, but she gets the drape. Andre, one of the new managers of the play, says 3 words that is his, what he thought of her performance when they were up in their little palace.
What were those 3 words?
I'll give you a hint. They're all
Magnifico, Perfecto, and Amazing-O. Oh, what's that last one?
You're close. They all end in O.
No, I don't know the last one. What is
So it was Bravo.
Ah.
Oh, sorry. It was Brava, Magnifica, Stupenda.
There it is. Yeah. Very good. That was a good question. Nice. So yeah,
It's like one of my favorite scenes of his because like he's just so like because he just does it with such vigor.
yeah. And it's kind of poignant too in that moment because both of them obviously banking on the understudy of Christine to come out and take the stage,
And she just
instead of the
smashes
diva.
it. Yeah.
and she just smashes it out of the park.
And then when they get the messages from the Phantom, they're like, oh, we'll dismiss that, even though he's just done something for us that's probably going to make us a lot of money.
yeah, exactly right.
Idiots.
I know. Should have just listened to the
Listen to the
Phantom
Phantom.
first. Exactly.
Everyone listened to the Phantom, and everything would have worked out fine.
Yep, absolutely. All right. My question for you, my second question. All right. So Emmy Rossum had a really great year in 2004 when this came out. She starred in The Phantom of the Opera and was actually nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy. She also starred in another movie earlier in that year. What was that movie?
Oh, it wasn't. Shit, what was that movie called? The one with
Gyllenhaal?
yeah. Tomorrow when not Tomorrow in the
Yep. Disaster movie.
Day After Tomorrow.
It was The Day After Tomorrow. Yeah, there it is, The Day After Tomorrow. So, yes, in 2004, she starred in both of those. And since then, obviously, only going on to do smaller bit parts. But she lost out the Golden Globe in that year, unfortunately, because I think as Christine, she does do a phenomenal performance. As I said to you before we recorded, she's like the standout for me, I think. All right. Your final question, Brash.
Going on another Emmy sort of Rossum question. How old was Emmy during time of Phantom?
Okay, so there's obviously the scene at the end that has her headstone.
Oh,
saying-
not her character, like her actual age, because she was quite young compared to her co-stars.
Oh, her
Gerard
age.
Butler being 34 at the
Yeah.
time, and Patrick Wilson being 30.
Yeah.
There was quite an age gap.
She was 17, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, 17, yeah. I know that Joel Schumacher definitely sort of was looking to bring the age of the cast down because Andrew Lloyd Webber obviously having cast Michael Crawford and Sarah Brightman in the original stage production, them being a little bit older, he thought that the innocence of Christine was something that could be utilized for the whole cast because the Phantom and the tricks that he was kind of playing on them, it kind of plays on that sort of innocence of character and the arts, gullibility. Yeah.
She doesn't know any better.
Yeah. And it's almost like her first instance or look into various different forms of love, which we might get into a little bit later because there's obviously the love she feels for Raoul and the love she feels for the Phantom that comes into contention a little bit later. All right. My last question. Last one. See how we go. Score's currently tied 6-6. So this one is for the win.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no pressure. Here we go. All right. This one's a directorial question. Joel Schumacher very famously directed 2 movies in particular that childhood favorites of mine, but he used the kind of gothic inspiration from designing the city from those movies to design a lot of the sets in the Phantom of the Opera. Do you know what movies he did prior to these in terms of...
One of them will be Batman.
That is the one, yeah. So Batman and Batman Returns.
Batman Returns,
Yeah, so Joel Schumacher famously directed Michael Keaton in Batman and in Batman Returns as well, and he used that gothic sort of stage production in order to build and inspire some of the sets for the Phantom of the Opera.
He does love his noir.
He does.
Because he does the number 23. And I don't know, that's a thriller, so you might not watch that one.
No, I don't watch thrillers. Unless I made too.
That's got Jim Carrey in it. And it's probably Jim Carrey's one of his first more serious roles.
Mm.
And in that, it cuts back to not in their actual scene, it cuts back into like a dream sequence past life type esque thing. And it's very noir esque.
Yeah.
It's sort of filmed a bit like Sin City.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good cinematography in Sin City too. One thing I did notice was very similar between Gotham and the production design in the Phantom of the Opera was Joel Schumacher likes to use a lot of the human figure in his architecture. So you can see the stunning looking actual theatre of the...
all the statuettes in the ceiling of the opera house.
And then as you're going down to the Phantom's lair underneath...
All the arms holding the candelabras on the walls.
Yeah, and the male human figures holding up the roof. It's just... And then there's always this scene in Batman that I remember is the Batmobile just driving along the back of the human-like figure that's architectured into the Gotham Bank. So yeah, he does like that sort of theme as we go through. So he's got a style, old Joel Schumacher, that he likes to stick to. But I think for this... that was just perfect because it kind of hit that macabre vibe and also that sort of like the French kind of opera houses obviously had this look, and looking at it from a modern day perspective, it's super beautiful, very intricate, but it's also like a little bit creepy to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the vibe that it sort of wanted to give off, which success. Well done.
Well, I do love how they shoot that scene of the candelabras getting held by the arm when they're walking through that corridor. And then when you see Madame Geary's daughter go down there later, there's nothing there.
Yeah, it's completely mundane.
It's mundane. Got cobwebs
and darker as well. Oh, and it's almost like it kind of makes you question in that moment as well. It's like, was the character of Christine just enamored by the Phantom's presence? I know this is based on the original text, and in that moment, it is vastly well known that he drugged her as he went down into that sort of lair. So was that sort of what they were trying to play off in this moment, that she was seeing fantastical things? Was it the intoxication of the love that the Phantom was sort of expressing in this very raw and physical and visceral way? Or was it literally just hallucination based on fear, or just that artistic style?
They probably didn't want to have like people getting drugged in the movie.
Yeah, true.
That would have
taken away that PG rating. Yeah.
So they're probably like, oh, she's probably just in this sort of trance like state of like obviously he's never really seen him before. She's never really seen him before, and all she knows is that he's just this mysterious
angel of music.
Yeah, and just sort of captivated, and just the things he's singing to her is just what she believes.
Yeah, very good. All right, let's get into our real deal segment. All right, this is the Real Deal segment where we randomly select a criteria or lens to view this movie through, and we discuss these elements with the intention of finding out whether it can be rated positively or negatively. Each week, the names of these positive and negative criteria will reflect a sort of fun element of the movie, and topics can range from anything between cinematography, character development, and villains and themes, things like that. So Brash, I might let you go first for this one, but before you do, I will tell you what we are calling our categories this time. Today, the category, if you think something is well done or good, we're going to call it Lavish Landlord.
Dear Fearman, just a brief reminder. My salary has not been paid. Send it care of the ghost by return of post PTO. No one likes a debtor, so it's better if my orders are obeyed. Who would have the gall to send...
And that's because the Phantom of the Opera just obviously owns this building and charges people $20,000 a month to live there or to do the things that they do there. And that's really good business. So, and the bad one I'm going to do is, for this one, is Creepy Whisper.
Insolent boy, this slave of fashion, basking in your glory. Ignorant fool, this brave young suitor, sharing in my triumph.
Because he's very fond of the Creepy Whisper.
Yeah, he does.
Through the
He does-
different
he does
sorts
whisper
of
a lot.
back alleys of the opera theatre house. So let's randomly generate our topic. All right, so the first one that we have generated is cinematography. Brash, you want to kick us off?
Yes, I love this one. I love the cinematography of this movie. So was it what's the good word for this one?
A good word is lavish landlord.
Lavish landlord. So this would be a lavish landlord for me. I absolutely love it. Like at the very start, like it first shows Paris black and white because it's back in what 1782,
Yeah, I think it was
1780,
18 something.
18?
Oh, no, you might have been right at 17, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like 1784. But it starts off black and white.
Mm.
Black and white. You see like kids playing around the front of the opera house, old timey cars driving through, and then even just still horses and carriages. And then you go inside and they're doing the auction, and then they go through a few auction pieces like the music box that an older Raoul gets.
Yep.
The chandelier for that movie alone cost them $1.2 million.
That's an expensive chandelier.
That's very simple.
Oh, man, the diamond, well, I'm going to get into this later, but the diamonds, man, on that,
Oh,
stunning.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh.
But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. There's that black and white at the start, to the point I was watching this with Kalia again, and she was questioning the quality of the movie that we were watching because she was like, how old is this movie? I was like, it was made in 2004. And because she saw like the crackling of the black and white and things like that. And she said, is this like a poor definition movie? Is this a bootleg? I was like, no, this is legit. And then I said, I think it might be intentional. And yeah, eventually.
And then they auction off the chandelier, and that's when it's the auctioneer says the falling of this chandelier is a monumental time where the place was cursed by a ghost or a phantom.
Mm.
And he's like, well, maybe a bit of illumination might. We've had our guys fix up the chandelier with electrical lights because now they have electricity, being like 40 years later.
Yep.
40, 50 years later, and they have electricity now, so they've redone the chandelier up, and he's like, release it. All right, boys, and they take off the cover, organ music starts, the Phantom's theme, they start lifting up the chandelier, and it turns on, there's lights everywhere, all this wind blows through everyone's hair and just blowing everyone's clothes, all the dust and leaves get blown away, all the cobwebs, and as all the wind blows through, everything starts getting cleaner and nicer, and the color starts coming back to the room as it sweeps across the entirety of the Paris theater or Paris Opera House, and all the cobs get swept off, all the statues, and it just
they just come alive.
looks immaculate.
Yeah,
Absolutely immaculate.
Oh man, I really love that scene too because it kind of swept away, almost like pulling a rug away or a sheet off of the chandelier. It swept across from left to right on the screen, from color to black and white. And the only time I can vividly remember that happening in another movie was like when Dorothy opened the door to the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
It was like black and white and sepia, and then it goes straight into that beautiful color. But what was interesting about that was in a lot of movies, it kind of goes the other way. Like if you're talking about something in the past, it'll be in black and white. And then when you jump to the future, it'll be beautifully colored. But in this particular movie, The Phantom of the Opera, it did it the opposite way because it's obviously trying to show the audience that this was like the prime of this
Establishment.
the establishment, the Paris Opera Theatre. And it goes straight into just the over-the-top costumes, the beautiful singing and design. There is just like a whole community living in this theatre, basically, which is a complete juxtaposition from what we've just previously seen, where there's just debris, leaves, obviously a decrepitness, and abandonment. It's a theatre that hadn't been lived in for a really long time, and then for it to then just sweep away in that way, really beautiful. And that was like immersion 101 for me, because as soon as it did that, I was like locked in. And you said about the organ music, that as one of our reviewers said on Letterboxd, it's just like that. Yeah, great. We could do it for you podcast listeners, but we won't hurt your ears. Yeah, it's just that it's almost goosebump rendering, as if it hits like something inside you.
100%. And yeah, it just gets you engaged.
Yeah.
And and how the wind just sweeps, like as the wind sweeps over things, and it just cleans up, and just everything just looks so pristine. It's just because they had two other they had the 1.2 million dollar chandelier, then they had two other chandeliers. Like they made a copy, one for the more dangerous stuff because they didn't want to break the $1.2 million one.
Oh yeah,
and then another one that had electronics in it for that initial first scene.
Oh yeah. Well, the budget, I'm not sure how much the budget was, but I know that it was partially independently produced by Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah,
I know he put in some of his money for it because it was obviously a passion project of his that he wanted to get off the ground. But having a $1.3 million chandelier, obviously it is a very poignant and central piece of the musical itself. Having it fall, traditionally, as I read in The Phantom of the Opera, it falls after the end of Act 1, and it signifies the descent of the Phantom from being a mysterious, aloof love interest to rageful and vindictive and violently lustful.
You see the fall.
Yeah, the fall. And in this one, it obviously signifies the climax of the movie, and it happens a lot later on. But still, the same sort of transition happens with the character attached to that chandelier as well.
70 million.
70
million was the budget.
That is not bad.
And it grossed 51 million. So it didn't quite make
151?
No, 51 million.
51. Or is that total worldwide?
No, so that was gross US to Canada. It was 51 million.
Oh, what's the worldwide?
Gross worldwide, 154.
There you go. So it did make a profit.
Yeah.
Not in US, but obviously worldwide. For a stage turned film musical, they're kind of hard to do, I've heard as well.
Oh, 100%. Like, because this goes with the cinematography, but also the choreography. Having so many of those, like so many people like dancing around and that, they've got a camera, like the camera that goes down the hallway while they're all just dancing around.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be hard.
Yeah.
It'd be hard.
The cinematographer was John Matheson, and he was nominated for a Academy Award and Oscar for this. Didn't win, but was nominated and recognized. It also brings to mind the scenes that were shot outside of the opera house, the theatre house.
Yeah, so cluttered.
Yeah, it was so cluttered, but there's so much going on in terms of the carriages moving here and there, the fireworks going off in the sky, just the lighting. And then I watched the making of documentary, and you can hear the director, Joel Schumacher, just talking over this bullhorn across the whole thing. And imagine being a director or a cinematographer and watching it and scoping out and seeing every single person and just seeing one guy in the corner that just like is eating a bag of chips or something, and you have to do the whole thing again. Because,
having to reset, because I know they did have to reset and do a couple of the songs a couple of times. But yeah, having to reset and do all that again and again and again, holy,
that's money too, because you've got all those extras and it's just a masterpiece really to pull off and do it so well. But yeah, I think that's a really good real deal with the cinematography, because I think it, in terms of transitioning a musical to a film, it's done quite well.
Yeah, and like all the scenes are just absolutely fantastic. Like I'm not never did I watch it and be like, oh yeah, this was made in 2004.
Yeah, that's true. That's
like
true.
Everything seemed like it would be. Like they had no, like all the torches at the front, they're all like, was all actual fire.
Yep.
Like there was no actual like lighting. It was all candles, candelabras.
And it kind of goes into like the practical effects of it, using all those sort of practical effects in that time, and then using CGI to enhance what's already there.
Yeah.
I saw some complaints because I was wondering how this was received when it came out, because I know that from my experience, people that love musicals, they love musicals.
Oh yeah,
they love them so much.
Musicals that go from stage to a movie.
Yeah, they can be highly critical, and I know that there were some of those as well. They didn't like the differences between the film and the movie, and I know that there are some. But that being said, Andrew Lloyd Webber was given 100% creative control on this movie with Joel Schumacher, and Joel Schumacher was the first director that he considered and wanted for the role as well. So
There are a couple of funny things I love about this movie. It's how they are able to make things move with just a slight flick of something.
Yeah.
So like Gerard Butler pulls on the string, the drapes come down on the bed. She wakes up, she pulls the string, the drapes go back up.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then, or when Patrick Wilson's about to get crushed by that, the grate coming down on top of him, he turns the wheel
The simple
slightly.
wheel.
He turns it a little bit and it goes all the way back up.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right, let's
the
get
cogs in that thing.
Yeah. Let's get our next one for the real deal segment. All right, so the next one is the production design or set design. So going on from what we just said about, the simplicity of the various different mechanisms, the entire set, from what I have read, the entire set of the theater, the Paris Theater, was actually created in order to keep with the grandiose sort of theme of it. And you could stack up to 900 people in the theater that they kind of built. And they shot it all in London in the Pinewood Studios. And they built the Opera House, and they also built varying different connecting sort of set pieces together for the lair of the Phantom. And as we talked about before with the architecture of it, just those beautiful bust looking, when it was a full-on shot of the Paris Opera Theatre on the interior, I found myself just looking at the things around the building.
Yeah.
Because it was just that intricate and that beautiful, and it paid into that sort of gothic theme. And on the face of it, it was perfect. Like the reds were so vibrant, the gold was so beautifully stunning. The booths were all, perfectly curtained, and then the seats were all velvet and red, and the stage had the beautiful sort of firelights that go across that lit everybody up in the most perfect of ways. And then it sort of teetered up into the backstage of it, and you saw where the lechers sort of hang out, the people that operate the ropes and stuff. And there's these intricate wires and various sort of platforms and things like that were built, and all of it was just completely built for this movie. And it goes back to what I've sort of talked about with Gladiator 2 as well, and Ridley Scott, how if you build the playground, it makes the actor's job really easy.
Yeah.
And I found that was really immersive for me as well, just to see that theater built in its entirety, because it did its job. I was looking at it all. Like the set design was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I used to build sets for a local theatre group, or help them build sets, and obviously nothing like we can compare to anything that they've done for this.
Yeah.
But I mean, like a lot of work goes into it. But for that being all made, I'll put in the work and they put in the effort, and it pays.
Yeah, and I think they said there was about 200 builders that came together to just put it together.
Yep.
Just the interior of the auditorium of the theater space, but then they also built the lobby area with the staircase where they held the masquerade ball.
Masquerade, one of my favorite scenes of Masquerade.
Yeah, that was completely laid and built as well. Yeah, just a stunning sort of visual feast, really, because there was something to look at in every turn of the film. Yeah, and then obviously as well, we talked about the chandelier being built, weighing over 2.2 tons or whatever it was. And the scene where that actually was going to crash down in this documentary that I watched about it, they had one take, obviously, to do it. So everything had to be perfect. And obviously there was no people in the auditorium when they did it. So they had to then combine the CGI of the people below with the chandelier sort of crashing down into the space. So
and they actually used 2004 live production to get the actual live performance stay behind when they did the crashing down scene, to get the noises of people screaming and running and everything like that to use in the actual movie. Yeah,
because this the Paris Opera House, or the Paris Opera Theatre, is obviously based on the Palais Garnier. I don't know if I pronounced that correct, but it's an actual real place in Paris that holds shows and things like that. But imagine being in the audience for that, and then the stagehand just coming up and saying, "Hey, everybody, just for a moment, can you just all act crazy and run out to each and all of the doors, or at least scream like your life depends on it?" And imagine that. It's just like being in a stage show and then becoming part of one of the most famous film adaptations of all time. Yeah. That being said as well, with the lavishness of the theater and the depth of it, they also they burnt it as well in the theme as well, because they wanted realism. So putting in all that work to build it and then burning it at the end and destroying it. Yeah, it's just the commitment that they kind of had to that was just, it was turned up to 11. I also liked that the fact that they built this gave depth to the opera house, like the theater house. So they had actors, they had set designers, costume designers, makeup artists, prosthetic people, and they all kind of lived in the theater house as part of the times back in back in the 1700s and 1800s when this kind of show was happening,
Yep.
and everybody was employed there, and it kind of gave that feeling because of the intricacy of the backstage.
It sort of reminds me of the that scene in Titanic
Mm.
when you get to see the underbelly of the Titanic,
Yeah,
and all like the people who go on there for free or like on the cheap tickets.
Yep.
And like they're all fucking on there singing and dancing and just drinking.
Where the fun is.
Like, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And like, you see that in this when like, because they're all pretty much a family, they're all close knit. After shows, you'll see a couple in the corner making out somewhere.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
people up on the top drinking beer. They start doing jigs
Or
and playing
partying and
games.
dancing. Yeah.
Oh,
And yeah, they were just very, very confined, very close quarters. But then there was always just the idea in my head that it was like a labyrinth, like a never-ending maze.
yeah.
And the Lech character of Banquet, Joseph Banquet,
Yep.
he just kind of went around and just, peeping Tom kind of vibes. But he also gave a lot of insight into how the theatre operation kind of worked in the back end of it. But yeah, I just love how you could almost look at the theatre as a character, and also in combination with the Phantom. When
Yep.
you're looking at the Phantom as a character who looks really shiny and pristine and awesome on the outside with his manicured mask and his suit and his slick backed hair. But then as you go down into the tunnels below, it's that weaving labyrinth of just like gothic, macabre, serious sort of undertone organ vibes. And you're kind of just thinking to yourself, okay, so on the surface, the Phantom looks awesome, but underneath the mask, he's disfigured. And as you look at the theater, you can also see that on the surface of it, in the auditorium, when you're looking at the beautiful bronze and the red sort of curtains, looks very beautiful. But underneath, when you're looking at the stalagmites and the dirty, murky water, and you're going into the candle lit areas, and you're kind of like, there's a darker side to this too. So the theater mirrors the Phantom, and I loved seeing those two things put together. That's awesome.
Yeah. And that scene where Patrick Wilson's Raoul's coming down the stairs, getting led by Madame Geary.
Mm.
And it's that big spiral just circling. He looks down, it just looks bottomless.
Yeah.
Like it could lead to the depths of hell itself.
Yeah. Under the real Polias Gunya.
Probably not like that, but
No, there is actual tunnels and catacombs underneath it as well.
But probably not like a giant,
I
massive
think
spiral
it's-
staircase to hell.
Definitely,
pit.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, because all that's got all the aqueducts and everything like that.
Yeah, it was kind of there to prevent like a flooding sort of situation from occurring, I think. But I just kind of also loved how the lair of the Phantom, there were all these sort of candles that rose up out of the water, but then there was that beautiful crafted organ in the back as part of the set design. Just beautifully crafted that the music sort of comes from. And that sort of beauty within this maze and labyrinth that symbolizes the terrifying nature of the Phantom, that beautiful organ almost to me symbolizes his passion or genius for music. It's like there's that thing right there within this darkness that is beauty. And that was interesting for me as well, how the actual place really mirrored the character. So yeah, if we talk about sort of set design production and we move on to like costumes and things like that, did you notice Christine's outfits throughout the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. How they started off really like white and lacy and innocent. And then as it kind of went along and she was falling more for the Phantom and going more down the path of these two sort of love interests, she started to wear more blacks and reds and
more color.
More color and more into that sort of that vein of unbridled passion and confusion. And
so getting away from that purity.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that was just really nuanced as well, the way that it did that. Yeah, I liked it. I'm going to rate the cinematography. I think obviously it's going to be a lavish landlord.
Oh, lavish landlord all the way.
Yeah, all the way. All right, let's get our next one. All right, the next one that we're going to talk about is the villain. Brash, do you want to kick us off with that?
Yeah. So this is going to be a controversial one, I think, for most people. So everyone usually goes straight to the Phantom is the bad guy. I believe that they are all the villains. In their own way, are all
Villainous.
All not as sweet and nice as they make out to be.
Mm.
So
I'm interested.
Christine, yes, she was groomed in a way, I suppose, which is
Absolutely. Yeah.
bad. But the Phantom noticed her talent, put time and effort into her career. Now, he was doing it because he loved her. But obsessively. But at no point was he like he says he's going to steal her away and everything like that. But he wants to further her career.
Mm.
He wants her to be the best there ever was. He wants her to perform all these players' performances and be absolutely famous. Raoul comes along and is like, oh, we can go out to dinner and that. And
Yeah, presents this high societal
So,
vibe.
yeah, and distract her from her career to just become, well, back in those days, she'd just be a trophy wife that sits around the house all day. When they have that first scene where she takes off the mask because he's a monster, then goes back up and sees Raoul and is like, oh, we can't talk here. And then pretty much goes, oh my God, he's not fucking a monster. It's like, dude, he's been helping you for years, got you this awesome gig of being the lead woman in an opera show, and you just turn around and be like, he's ugly. I'd rather the hot guy.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
Like straight up was just like, nah, he's ugly.
Mm.
And like instead of him like her saying that, oh, he's been doing evil things or anything like that, it's no, he's physically deformed.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come
I
on.
get it. But
and I'm saying there's more than one. Like Coletta.
Mm.
Coletta just terrorizes.
She's a villain.
She terrorizes the whole entire place.
She's a diva.
A diva.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrorizes the place. And then any sort of little tiny little misfit chucks a fit. Oh, but Minnie Driver did such a good job.
Oh, yeah, she did.
Oh, such a
Absolutely.
good job.
She doesn't even have an Italian accent, and she isn't operatically trained.
No, she tapped into her. She said that to get to actually get into this role, she tapped into a neighbor she had when she lived in Venice. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, absolutely villain. The managers.
Oh
the
yeah.
managers. Villains.
They come off as used car salesmen to me.
Yeah. Well, they came in from a scrap. Well, I'm sorry, not a scrapping joint. A metal.
No. He said it's not a junkyard; it's scrap metal. Or
That's
something
it.
Like that.
Yeah, not a junkyard, scrap metal. But I love them. I absolutely love them. But they come in. He says, "All right, I just want my booth opened up. Pay $20,000. Yes, that sort of seems like a fucking extortion.
Absolute extortion.
Absolute extortion. But the Phantom made that performance better.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, people lined up outside the door to see Christine, not Colette, as much as they want to try and blow smoke up her ass.
Yeah, and that kind of plays into that musical genius that you can see that he has been established as a character of the Phantom. He's got that musical genius. They didn't trust his talented view. So in a way here, I'm going to play Devil's Avocado. Is the Phantom not a diva then as well?
Well, that's it. By no means is the Phantom innocent. He is also a villain. But I feel his circumstances sort of force him to be, it's like a sort of reverse Hunchback. Where the Hunchback is more, even though he's deformed and everyone is mean to him, he still stays on sort of that good path. Whereas the Phantom is sort of what the opposite, like what could have happened.
Yeah, it's like two sides of the coin. And it's really funny because The Hunchback of Notre Dame, that is a French story.
Yep.
The Phantom of the Opera is obviously a French story. Beauty and the Beast is a French story. There's like this obsession with the grotesque man doing good or evil things and the beautiful woman helping or haunting that character. It's a very common trope through French literature, and it's crazy to see how enticing that still is for people to watch, because there's been so many remakes and so many different tropes that follow that theme. But I can't get behind the Phantom though, Adam. I really can't. Like he's a villain, but
he's a villain with circumstance.
Oh, absolutely. I do understand. I fully understand the fact that he's
even when Raoul learns about his past and how he was kept in chains and bagged over his head and kicked and thrashed and all that, and he unfortunately had to kill his captor to escape, and Lady Geary helps him escape and puts him in the bottom of the opera house,
and that's all the life that he knew from there. So he obviously has no people skills. He's obsessed with the first lady that he sees that he's kind of attracted to as well. He doesn't really know how to engage in the feelings that he's having. I understand that completely.
As soon as Raoul finds out, he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go kill him. Instead of going like, oh yeah, he's had a rough life, maybe we can try and get him some help. He's like, nah, I'm going to get my sword
and kill him. No, I do understand that. I think that that's why the Christine character is so important, because obviously she's the one that initially sees past that mystery to be curious enough to then have that sort of desire. And I feel like that desire doesn't really go away throughout the movie.
No, yeah, because you can see it. She gets drawn to him again later on.
And then obviously when they do have that fight in the cinema, Raoul and in the cemetery, Raoul and the Phantom, when he has the Phantom in a deathly position, it's Christine that asks for pity, which he does. And then obviously at the climax of the film, she does show him that ultimate compassion where she says to him, what's the line? It was, the horrors of your face, or the physical horrors of your face, something along the lines of the physical horrors of your face aren't what dissuade me. It's like the nature of your soul
itself, yeah.
in your soul. And I think that's kind of what the message was along the way. Despite that, Christine still showed kindness to that phantom.
And then in turn, he did the same thing.
And then exactly right. So I think the message there is kindness breeds kindness, cruelty breeds cruelty.
Yeah. And he's pretty much only known cruelty.
Yes, exactly right. So yeah, I still think he's a bloody villain though, Brash.
I mean, he is, but like you can see how he got to that point.
Absolutely. Oh, and you know what? The nuance of this musical and this stage production, why people love it so much, is because there are people who love the Phantom and there are people who love Raoul, and it explores that duality of love where you're going with, in terms of the Phantom, the mysterious, the seductive, the unknown, possibly the dangerous. Like, forgive me if I'm wrong, but how many of us have a terrible ex?
Yeah.
that you can fit in those characters, and we're probably someone's terrible ex that's like that as well. But then you look at the other hand on Raoul, and you're looking at like stable, safe, attractive,
money,
like there's also passion there, I feel.
Yeah,
and trust.
And there's like the childhood, like have known each other for a while. It's
the
like
relationship, and here's the thing that I think is good about it is that the relationship with Raoul developed in a trusting way over time from childhood. He always told her who he was. And then when you're talking about the Phantom, the relationship still developed, but it was always developed through deceit.
Yeah.
So, and through shadow and manipulation and all that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think that journey that character Christine goes on is one that we also all go on as people when we're looking at that as well.
Yeah, trying to pick out the red flags.
Yeah, that's the one. The red flags.
I mean, like the Phantom has red flags, like crimson.
Bro.
But like,
Crimsons.
I love how, like, I don't know, because it doesn't really explore it in the actual movie compared to, like, say, a stage show. But all the ones where Christine's saying that he's like craving flesh and wants to kill, like murdering people and killing people. And at that point in time, he'd killed one person.
That's still one too many, Brash.
I know, it's still one too many, but it's like one person. and that dude was a creep. But yeah, so I like, yes, definitely Phantom is a villain, but I reckon he's more a villain of circumstance and could have, like, and I think if Madame Geary had have, well, at the time she was just a kid too, so she couldn't have really known. But I reckon if she had been more, I don't know, like more communicative with him or like
nurturing
with him, it could have been a lot different.
I think so too.
Because even though Madame Geary knew about him and kept him safe and hidden in that thing, at no point do they really ever, like, if she had just gone off and hung out with him every now and then or done something like that, but it doesn't seem like it got that way. It got to a point where he hid down there, she might have thrown him some scraps every now and then he just grew up not really having
the
any
best of what he could
connection.
Find. Yeah.
And that just led to him being socially awkward.
All right, so what are you rating this one in terms of the villain, Brash? In terms of you said everybody was a villain, but also the Phantom was a villain. Effectiveness of the villain, what do you think? Is it a lavish landlord or is it a creepy whisper?
I reckon it's I reckon lavish landlord, purely because you in this. So if we were to base off heroes, I'd probably give it a what's our bad? Our
creepy whispers.
Creepy whispers. If it was going off heroes, I'd probably give it a creepy whispers. Going off villains, it has to be lavish landlords because it gives you so many different types of, well, not so much full on villains, but it gives you so many iterations of what bad is. There's bad in different aspects. So you got like the diva being better than everyone else and putting everyone else down. You've got the managers who just throw money at it, don't really give a shit.
Financially criminal.
They go off and sleep with their own staff because they are the managers and do what they want. And then you got Christine who is given pretty much this amazing career on a silver platter, and then as soon as some hot guy rocks up, she's like, "Oh, bye," and then goes off to the hot guy, and then you got the Phantom who is possessive and murderous, grooming,
obsessed.
But then the cruelty is done to him. But yes, so I reckon the fact that it gives you so many like iterations of like you can watch this whole thing and just pick a character and be like, oh yeah, they have like this red flag, this red flag, this red flag.
Mm.
It's just.
I think that's the attractive nature of it, because
Yeah.
every single character has a flaw, and every single character lives those flaws. And you can, if you look at it from a different character every single time, you can also sort of see like a different sort of layer to the onion that is the Phantom of the Opera.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So yeah. So I reckon for villains, plethora of just goodies.
Big lavish landlords. I think I'm mixed with this one, because I feel like in your perspective, yes, it's definitely a lavish landlord for me. But if I just look at the Phantom as, say, a villain, he walks the line of romance and villainy in a way that I can't really commit him to either.
Yeah.
You know, like he's obviously,
that's one thing. Like as I was saying, like
oh man, I don't know if it's artfully done in the way that I can't see him. Like the way that he's expressing his love is obviously completely wrong, but there is that sort of seductive, mysterious side to him, intentionally done by the writers and things like that. But there's also the villainous side of him, where you're looking at he's killing people, he's obsessive, he's just completely unstable mentally in that sort of way. So you think, you know what, I'm probably going to give it a lavish landlord too. I think the villains are represented here pretty well.
and probably a good note too is all of his tropes and everything would realistically be based off of performances.
Mm.
He's had lived in that basement for many years, just listening to operas
That's
and
very
stage
true.
performances.
And the way that
So
he connects with others.
all of his romantic sort of side and his sort of and that sort of mysterious side will probably all become from like characters from performances.
Because realistically, the only kind of relationships he would have seen were the ones that are on stage, which then we could also breed into an argument of, does too much TV ruin our people's minds because we're seeing relationships built through TV? But that's a whole nother story. So yes, I reckon lavish landlords for the villains. It's done very, very
and that's
well.
why he's so dramatic too. Like dramatic in everything he does is because he's always been listening to dramatic performances.
Yeah. Or comedic, very, very attuned to entertainment, and obviously real life isn't like that. So he's also the worst theatre guest ever.
Oh.
Do you remember halfway through the musical production, he's like, I told you to leave booth 5 empty. It's like, who the heck is this guy? He's like, another heckler. All right, let's go next one. All right, this one is the emotional impact of the movie. Yeah, in terms of the sort of love triangle between the Phantom, Raoul, and Christine, you're kind of looking at that. Like, for me, the journey was watching Christine slowly realize
that she's in a toxic relationship.
Yeah, pretty much, that she was in a toxic relationship, because the way that Emmy Rossum, as the actress, looked at Gerard Butler as the Phantom when he was in the scene where they were descending to the lair, she was like in awe of him in a way that's like,
I wish someone looked at me like that.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously she's doing that because she has not experienced love in that kind of way before. And the Phantom is obviously playing on the relationship that he had seeded through time in that manner, and the mystery and the sort of connection that they had. But that sort of connection that they have, it's almost like a story about the maturing, like the way you mature as you love in your life. Yeah. So if you're looking at it from a very sort of young love perspective, that is kind of how you go in. You throw your heart into it, and consequences be damned, whether it be good for you, bad for you, whatever. You feel this.
At the time, it doesn't matter.
Yep, exactly right. And then that's kind of what's replicated on the screen. And then later on, you start to develop some intelligence around that sort of space, and you navigate your way to your Raoul, so to speak. Yeah. But yeah, I think that, like, for Raoul, it represents that connection, that relationship that's developed through truth over a long period of time. I kind of didn't like, though, in that being said, I didn't like that Raoul only recognized her when she was on the stage.
Yeah.
As a star.
Instead of,
and at that moment, he was like, oh, now I know who you are.
And she's like, oh my gosh, Raoul. And he walks past her and she's like, oh, I guess he doesn't recognize me. And then later on, he's like, damn, she's hot. Oh, wait, that's Christine.
Yeah. And he's like, obviously admiring her talent at that point. And then she's like, wow,
admiring
okay.
her talent.
Yeah. And then, that's when he goes in without chaperones and takes the flowers in and builds that connection in that manner. And come on, man.
Dude.
No, I agree. I think, that's how I sort of saw it in terms of the emotional impact for me, was that. Yeah. And also, as we spoke about earlier, but I think I'll get into it more with our MVTs, is the kindness sort of aspect of it.
And it wouldn't really work. It wouldn't work if they didn't have that prior connection. Because if they didn't have that prior connection, he saw on stage, was like, damn, then goes in and gives her flowers and like, oh, we're going to dinner. And she's like, no, I can't. She's like, no, we're going to dinner. Like, because even though they know each other, he still dismisses what she's saying and is just telling her what she has to do instead of asking her what she wants to do.
Yeah.
She goes in there and goes, we're going to dinner. Come, I'll get the horses ready. And she's like, no. And he's like, come on, let's go. Rah. And then starts walking away. And she's like, no. I said no. Like, no is no.
Yeah,
and he just dismisses her. And that's the thing I hated about Raoul is that he just expected it.
Yep. No, I get that. Oh, so yeah, I see what you mean. Like his propriety, his privilege and his propriety, kind of his character.
Yeah, like
assumed
even though he does seem like a nice guy, but I think he has this sort of sense of he probably hasn't had a lot of people say no to him a lot. Even if he's unknowing of it, like he might ask for something and they probably don't really want to do it, but they know his status, so they say yes. So he's probably not used to people saying no to him a lot. And then Christine's like saying, "Oh no, I can't."
Well, I know that in the original stage production, Raoul's role is actually kind of minor.
Yeah.
But in this one,
it's more pronounced.
It's more pronounced because they're focusing on that love triangle instead of the Phantom being this murderous and hateful being, which is more pronounced in the book as well.
Yeah, but if they never had that connection at the start, like childhood friends, Raoul would come off a lot, or he'd seem a lot worse.
I think so.
Than he is.
There is that sort of element of trust and steadfast sort of love that's lasted through the years.
That friendship they've had.
That establishes the fact that connection is kind of a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that would give more, then that would make it harder for the transition from her realizing that the Phantom's love and everything like that's probably not a good thing compared to Raoul. But if Raoul, they didn't have that connection at the start, she's pretty much choosing one red flag for another red flag.
Yeah.
Realistically.
I think, though, that is true. But I think as the relationship develops and their connection strengthens through the song, the All I Ask of You song, I feel like Raoul sort of matures into like a pure love.
Yeah.
Instead of a...
Whereas Phantom's line, just doing what I say is all I ask of you. Yeah. Or doing what I tell you is all I ask of you.
Yeah. So I think initially, they both seem quite obtrusive, but then as you watch the trajectory of those loves, those relationships, those emotional impacts, I think that there's two choices there to be made, and Christine obviously is the one making those choices in the end. Yeah,
I do like the conclusion of it.
Oh, I think so too. I'm going to get into that when we're talking about our MVTs because that conclusion for me was pretty good too.
They did it. I reckon for me, they did a good job with it. I reckon it's Lavish Landlords. For me. I do like the relationships, but like not even just for them, like the big three, like Miss Geary, her relationship to the Phantom, and her trying to she warns everyone. Yeah,
she is the one that's kind of there.
Trying to be a mediator.
Telling them to actually take this seriously.
And then they just blaze out because they're rich people who don't give a shit about anyone else but themselves and profit.
Yeah. But overall, I think in terms of the character connection, this movie is driven by that love triangle and the exploration of those themes through that love triangle. I think in The Phantom of the Opera, in this movie, that's done quite well. So I'm going to give it a Lavish Landlords for that one for me. Yeah. All right, so our MVT segment is where we discuss the most important thing we learned from the media that we have watched, and it could be something that extends our knowledge or something that we can apply to our life. It can be as simple as a piece of dialogue that stuck with us or a thematic or moral lesson. It can be a technical piece of cinema craft, or it might even be something that we just want to discuss with each other. We've kind of been sitting on this vein with me on and off, so we'll go with my MVT first. Mine is the fact of outward beauty and inner turmoil. So talking about the fact that obviously the theatre and the Phantom have that outward beauty.
Yep.
Both have this inner sort of turmoil, but then the impact of kindness on those kinds of things. So obviously in the climactic scene, we see the Phantom in his uber possessive mode. He's strung up Raoul to the palisade, the portcullis and the waters there. And he's saying, if you don't marry me, I will kill him. And then, Christine comes in and sort of talks to him and says, the thing that dissuades me most about you is who you are as a person inside. I know that what kind of, he says something about her, she says something about him in terms of what happened in your life, understands and gives him that brevity and takes that moment like we were discussing before.
Yeah.
Pitiful creature of darkness, what kind of life have you known? God, give me courage to show you you are not alone.
She's the one that kind of takes that moment and goes, yes, this person is the absolute epitome of bad right now. What made them that way? And for us as people on Earth and not in the fictional reality of the Phantom of the Opera, when you know life and death isn't at stake, I think it's very important to kind of take that minute and see, and that doesn't dissuade the responsibility of the person who's doing the action.
Yeah.
Like it's obviously their responsibility to do the work and to make sure that they know that their actions are hurting people. But also for us as individuals, if we see somebody like that, just think for a moment, like what led them to this sort of area. Because then in the movie, it's taken as, you know, she ends up kissing him compassionately. First time he's ever felt compassionate love. And that literally just changes his mind in a minute.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm not telling everybody to go out and kiss somebody that's being mean to you, but definitely don't do that. But taking that moment of compassion, you never know what effect that's going to have. So obviously in this movie, she goes away with Raoul and they're let to escape. In the book version of the Phantom of the Opera, he dies of heartbreak, but in this one, he obviously escapes and then still loves Christine to this day, having left the rose on the end of the grave scene.
A fresh rose too.
A fresh rose, yes. And the same ring.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that's my MVT, is just that the power of kindness and understanding that inner beauty or outer beauty and inner turmoil kind of relationship. And you know what? In a more comedic sense, it's happened lots and lots in movies, but in a more comedic sense, it kind of reminded me of the movie with Jack Black called Shallow Hal.
Yeah.
So he sees the beauty of somebody's inside personified on their outside, as opposed to the beauty of somebody on the outside not reflecting what they are like on the inside. And you know, there's social media and all kinds of things that has developed over time that has really progressed that narrative of outer beauty and inner rubbishness, you might say, for some.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, it's just that understanding and that moment of kindness, just to take that minute to think about somebody's situation first. That's my MVT.
Yeah, damn.
Going deep this week, Brash.
Yeah. Well, that was similar to what I was going to do for my MVT, because I have real compassion for the Phantom and what he had to go through in his life.
Yep.
And it's very sad that people actually in life have to go through similar sort of roughness. And then if they're able to come out on the other side better, then absolutely wonderful. But then a lot of people, unfortunately, don't. But sort of mine sways from that a little bit, not so much kindness onto kindness breeds kindness, but more being self-aware of how you treat people. So with Coletta, she's just full-on diva, but to the point where kicking and screaming and yelling at people, putting them down. If she was to be more self-aware of her actions, I mean, she probably would still be getting a lot more work than what she probably would be getting later. A bit of a diva, as we said, and she treated people really the wrong way. You know, having a curtain fall on her, and she had her voice messed with, croaked, with the spray. So yeah, I kind of get what you're saying here. Yeah, actions lead to consequences, and it's about acknowledging those actions and the consequences and growing from them. So even the managers, they come in not knowing anything of the theatre, bought a theatre, and well, then ended up burning down because instead of them taking things seriously in the arts, they just used it as a cash cow. And as it's like one of the scenes when Christine goes missing because the Phantom took her down to his little lair, and she goes missing, and it's all in the tabloids that Christine the Star's gone missing, and the other one's like, "Oh no, we're ruined! All this bad publicity." And he's like, "Yes, but publicity's publicity." And they don't give a shit about Christine. She goes missing and doesn't ever comes back. Oh well, too bad. We got publicity for it. We got people at the door, and then eventually the opera house burns down and
Yeah,
they lose
it's
everything.
almost the ultimate consequence, isn't it? It's like that lead up and that build up of people treating each other poorly, not having compassion around others, and each character suffers their own kind of demise in relation to that. That's a really good takeaway.
Yeah. So they because at the end when it's burning down, they say we're ruined. I do feel a little bit bad for Colette though, because she ends up playing not the main role of that performance, but she plays one of the other roles, and like she doesn't kick and scream about it. She plays it, but I think it's also because they want to try and capture the Phantom and everything, and then ends up losing her. I don't know if it's her husband or just her partner that she's always done all her musicals with, but the guy that Phantom takes over in the role of and kills.
Yep.
But she loses her partner in this whole escapade. She also her stage, well, her performance as a leading lady is ruined from all the little things that she had that she went through, because instead of maybe working on her craft, and she sort of got to a height and then thought that she was just so good now that she could never be undone. And then instead of her continuing to perfect her art, she's probably just now living the diva life, and it ends up being ruined because someone comes along that's better, because they've actually trained and put in the work, and is just now better, and she's now second grade and doesn't take it too well. But I feel, and like in the Phantom, he holds on, like he's overly possessive, holds on too tightly, and eventually everything just slips through his fingers.
Yep. Yeah. I think like the crazy thing for me is, as we just talked about, everybody kind of gets their comeuppance or their consequence for the bad stuff that they did in terms of not thinking about others. But the character of Madame Geary,
I think it's Geary.
Madame Geary, yeah, she shows the ultimate kindness to this young man, gets him out, sends him to the theater and things like that. Like she's not really repaid in kind for that kind of kindness.
No.
But then at the end, when Christine shows the Phantom a second kindness in terms of that quote unconditional love, where she shows him that compassion and that somebody can love him and care for him in that sort of manner, it is rewarded in that sense. So like my question is, yes, that's the message through the film, but for the character of Madame Geary, like I would just look at that if that was me as a character and think that was a big mistake. Like being kind to that person, that was a really big mistake. I displayed kindness to the wrong person, because now it's backfired for 30 or however many years of comment for everybody at this theater.
I suppose, but in doing so, like as the old manager of the opera house was just paid him, left the seat open.
Yep.
And everything ran smoothly. The reason why that manager got out was because he was sick of the headaches of, I'm assuming it was Coletta.
Yeah.
Because she's been doing it for 5 years there. 4 or 5 years she's been performing there. And I mean, if I had to listen to...
Yeah, that operatic high note. Yeah.
I'd also have a headache.
As beautiful as it is.
Yeah, as beautiful. Like, Minnie Driver fucking knocked out of the park. And like, she isn't that bad, but yeah, those high notes just gives you tinnitus. But yeah, I think in respect to Mangiri, she was pretty much like, she was the, what would you call it in stage?
Which one?
Madame Geary. She was pretty much like the director.
In a different sort of circumstance, you might call her the madam of the house, where she kind of looks after all the lady performers.
Yeah.
And sort of takes care of them and has them under the wing and talks to the owners and the directors on behalf of the actors and the things like that. So yeah, you might say like the manager.
Yeah. Of the female dancers, the ballerinas.
Yeah.
All the dancers and stuff like that. So she's worked her way up the ranks, and that probably happened in no small part of the Phantom sort of making sure that she was also probably in a position of succeeding or just helping out where he can. So there probably was, in a way, something that she was getting back for a while, but then she also was like, once he fully took grasp of Christine, and because she was always lurking in the shadows and she always saw things, and she was probably like, ooh, this is probably heading down a path that probably shouldn't, helping out Raoul, told him the backstory, told him where to find him, and all this other stuff, and end up helping out at the end, because she's probably like, well, we had a good run, and now it's devolved.
Or maybe her arc and her lesson would be something along the lines of, keeping a secret can be detrimental.
Yeah.
To the point where asking for help is okay sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe, like, if you are going to offer that assistance or offer help to someone, like it can't be like one and done.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah, I get that.
Like say if you had a friend who had a drinking problem and you went up and was like, hey man, maybe we shouldn't drink for a day or a night or something like that, and you're with them, and then you're like, all right, you're sweet now, and then leave. Like, I know it's not like on her to do that, but she's the one who brought him to the theater, made him, like, helped him escape, got him out of there. She's already made that choice of helping him. She had to do better to, I don't know,
support like
him,
the support around.
Keep the support there.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just sending him from one prison and put him in another.
Yeah. Well, in terms of that, let's sort of, we'll wrap this up and we'll go into our next sort of segment, which is a new one. All right, this is our segment called What If, or Devil's Avocado, Devil's Advocate. And we talk about like what could have happened in this movie. And we just basically rip off different sort of things that may or may not have happened, how it may have changed the story in terms of the characters, or in terms of actors that played different characters, or like different choices the director made and things like that. So in terms of what we were talking about before with Matt and Geary, if she did offer those supports, he was a musical genius.
Yeah.
Like this character of the Phantom was a musical genius. If she did help him and offer those supports after having rescued him, there is the potential that the Paris Opera House would have flourished in a brand new way.
Yeah. Because like he wears a mask to cover his deformed face, and like he looks good in the mask. I'm not gonna lie. So like he could like always wear a mask if he really doesn't want to hide that. And like it could be like said, look, I was born with pretty bad deformity on my face, so this mask hides it, so it's not disturbing to other people. And like even only first telling that to a few people at start, and then it can evolve from there. But even because he is such a musical prodigy, like have him in the choir playing the music, have him writing up operas, directors and stuff like that. Yeah, directing, like, and
that goes back to like helping somebody and giving them support by facilitating their kind of passions, or helping them find their own way in their passion, as opposed to, you know, giving them.
And so like I put this kid in the basement and just left him there to fend for himself. Good luck, kid.
Yeah. Here's a devil's avocado for you. So we know that like obviously Gerard Butler was chosen to play this role. How do you think Hugh Jackman would have gone as playing the Phantom? Because I know traditionally Joel Schumacher wanted somebody, and Andrew Lloyd Webber also wanted somebody who didn't sing traditionally and wasn't really operatically trained, because it also signified the differences between Raoul and the Phantom.
Yeah.
So Raoul, being played by Patrick Wilson, is operatically trained, sung very formally, which played into his character of being this sort of formal man. But then the mystery of the Phantom was he sung in this very different kind of way.
Yeah, because he wouldn't have, like, he would have just had to listen to other people. He wouldn't know.
Self-trained, yeah.
Self-trained. And so his voice is a bit more gritty and a bit more rough.
Yeah.
But I think that's what Gerald Butler does really well, because he's never had any training before. At that point he hadn't, even like his first shoot, he's never had any training before, and he had to do the big which one was it? The
Point of No Return
song. So whereas if you had Hugh Jackman in there, I think it would be, how can he be too clean?
I think so too, because he was more stage trained as well.
Yeah.
He had done The Boy from Oz at that point, and is very familiar with, like, obviously being around the stage environment. So that's a good point. I think, maybe that devil's avocado wouldn't pay out so nicely.
No, but I reckon Hugh Jackman could pull off the gruff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100% he could.
Oh, because he just needs to tap into that Wolverine, baby.
Yeah, but also I couldn't believably look at a scarred Hugh Jackman face and think, what a deformity. Like, anything you do to that man's face, he's still going to look great.
Yeah.
Yeah. He, Australian treasure.
I remember, what did I read? Yeah, Gerard Butler, his prosthetic, they had a string attached to the bottom of his eye that pulled his eye down to make his eye look more deformed. And like between takes, all the cars would come up and pull on the string.
Oh, that was bad.
Annoying. Yeah.
So that being our last devil's avocado, let's go on to our last segment. Okay, so the last segment of our show, what we always do before we sign off is we put these movies on our fandom portals on a board. What we usually do is we rate the media and place it on a Letterboxd on a board. This board can be followed, tracked, and found on Letterboxd from the handle at Fandom Portal. So if you want to go check out where we're ranking our movies, then you can go and see it there. Currently, our letterboxed Fandom Portals on a board looks like this, Brash. It has, in first place, The Nice Guys with Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. It has sat there for 1 week, having toppled Venom: The Last Dance, which also sat there for 1 week, having toppled Red One, which also sat there for 1 week. So it seems like every week we're picking a better movie than the one that came before. So
I reckon this one might be the one that gets us.
do you think so?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm trying to look at your face. I'm trying to read it.
Because remember, guys, if it is a hung vote between Brash and myself, it goes to you guys. So you will be the community vote, which breaks the tie to see whether it places above or below where we believe it should go. So do you want me to go first? No,
I'll go first.
You go first.
I'll go first. Number one.
Okay.
Yeah, Phantom Opera is my number one. It is my favorite. It's not my favorite movie, but it's definitely my favorite adapted
Musical.
All
right. So look, The Nice Guys was such a nuanced sort of movie. Every time I looked at it, it was something different. But in terms of having feelings when you're watching a movie, this one tops it for me. So I think I'm going to put it in number one too. So I think this one tops The Nice Guys in terms of that.
I wasn't sure if you will or not.
No, I think I will. Like, as I said, musicals aren't my thing. Sometimes they're hit and miss with me.
Yeah.
This one was definitely a hit. And I think it was also like the story behind the actual musical as a totality. It is just a really good concept that invites and intrigues my curious mind. There's this genius that's a mysterious sort of phantom-like figure. Immediately having not known anything about this, I was like, what motivates a guy like that, for one? And then you find out it's love, and then there's a love triangle, and then there's all these beautiful performances, and then you look at the movie in its entirety and you see all the beautiful sort of stage productions and like the songs and all those engaging moments, and you're just like, it just kind of draws you in. And the scene that did it for me was from start to finish, the music of the night. That number.
That is such a...
Going from Christine's, I'll say descent, from the actual theatre into the lair of the Phantom. Just that whole moment in continuation. I was just hooked.
They had to shoot that like, what, 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. I read one time that the boat got stuck and everybody just, they had a bit of a laugh because the boat got stuck. But yeah, I think that scene for me and the way that the whole film looked, I think it's going to be number one for me. Yeah. Wonder how long this one will reign. If you want to follow us, make sure you do so. We have a Letterboxd where we have monthly watch lists for you guys to follow. It's sometimes we take some of the content from those watch lists and do an episode on Fandom Portals, and other times we just use it to talk about some common movies on our social media account. So if you wanted to watch along with Brash and I, make sure you go and follow us on Letterboxd. The link to that is in the show notes below. We are very active on Instagram and Threads. Some of those commenters are also shouted out on the podcast. So if that's something you're into, definitely go and join us on there. Again, show notes below for those links. And we are also on email. That is in the show notes below. So if you have a recommendation for the Fandom Portals podcast, make sure you go and send us an email on that as well. That's it. We're going to be signing off now. Remember, we are on socials and we are on emails for you guys to check out. We are at Fandom Portals pretty much everywhere. This is Aaron signing off. Have fun. Be safe.
This is Brash signing off. Just make sure you always comment. We always love hearing your comments. And any sort of criticisms, we love that too, because we only want to get better.
Hey everybody, it's Aaron here from the Fandom Portals podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into that episode. Frank, our amazing leader from the Geek Freaks Network, has allowed me to give you guys the opportunity to win a Fandom Portals exclusive t-shirt. That's right, you can wear your Fandom Portals pride on your person by entering this giveaway. So big thanks to the Geek Freaks Network and to Frank specifically for allowing us to do this. Now, the way that you enter this giveaway is if you go to our social media on Instagram and you share any of our posts and you tag us at Fandom Portals, then you will have an entry into this giveaway. Now, this giveaway will last all the way until the end of January, so make sure in the month of January you are sharing as many Fandom Portals posts as you can on Instagram. Every time you tag us using that code of @Fandom Portals, you'll earn yourself 1 entry point for the giveaway. The giveaway will be drawn on our social media and you'll find out the winner on the social media as well. And if you want to have a look at the t-shirt, the picture of it will be on our social media as well. Lots of benefits for being a part of our Instagram. So that's it, guys. All you have to do to win this amazing Fandom Portals t-shirt is go onto our social medias and share a Fandom Portals post throughout the month of January. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your listenership. And as always, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you later.